It's your main man, Mr. Uptown One Love. Guess what? We are in the building. Woo-woo! Yeah, I had to do that for one time. Listen, guys, I'm very excited about what's going on. Listen, I have the lady here today. Can I say today? Today. Right. Listen, guys, I am so excited today to let you guys know I have in the building the one, the only, my friend, the beautiful, the awesome, Miss Kelly Smith. She's in the building. Woo! Can you believe it? What's up there, Kelly?
Hey, Marcus. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Listen,
how are you?
I'm so excited to have you here today. You are officially my first podcast.
I'm so honored.
No, I'm honored. I'm honored to have you here today because you know what? It was a long time coming, and we're here, and we got this thing together. And you know what? I want to thank you personally right now for taking the helm and being here for me, and I really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Look, I see we have a book on the hand. We have this book. This book is phenomenal. Love Letters from an Ex-Wife. Now, when I first read when I first read the cover, I was like, man, that's kind of strong. Love letter from an ex-wife, you know. The only letter I'm gonna get from an ex-wife is I want some money. You know, so I'm kind of curious, like, at what time in your life did this come up that you say, you know what, I'm gonna write this book? When did this happen? What happened? When did this take place?
January.
Okay.
Of this year.
This year?
Yes.
So you mean tell me it's been in your system all this time?
No. I won't say that. It really is just kind of the period on a 2-year time period of healing, my healing journey. And I was really, at the end of 2019, I was really intentional to not show up to my relationships the way I had been.
What does that mean? Not showing up. That sounds powerful. What is that?
So,
what is that like?
I guess that was a lot, wasn't it? You know, we can show up with masks to relationships. We can show up hurt to our relationships, and it comes off as the who we are. You know, this is who I am, except the same cycles keep happening, but just with different people. And I was tired of getting hurt, but I was also tired of hurting people.
Wow.
And not just in dating relationships, but, you know, in my relationship with my children,
Right.
in my relationship with friends.
Right.
I was just tired of hurting people. And so I was really intentional about my healing process, whatever that meant, uncovering the layers, one onion layer at a time, to get to the core, to the root of whatever my issues were.
I noticed in the book here you have some things as far as being transparent, and I read a lot of transparency in your message here, and I was really impressed with that. At what point did you say to yourself, you know, I've hurt this person, and I realize I hurt this person, and I need to do something about it?
It was one of the layers that was uncovered. And quite frankly, it was just during a time of prayer that I was asking myself the hard questions. Why? And it just kind of started off with, why did I respond that way? Why did I say that? Because that's not how I really felt, and it wasn't what I really should have said or wanted to say. And so when I began to ask myself those hard questions, why didn't I say that? But where did that come from? What made me want to say that? What are the feelings that are buried behind the words that I wanted to say? And so really getting to the core of my feelings and those emotions, or I even like to call it my marinade. What was I marinating in that made me respond that way? And so sometimes if you think about like a Worcestershire sauce or whatever you would marinate meat in, those are some of that's kind of like your home culture, your family culture of what you're brought up in. So what was the family culture you were marinated in that you respond in relationships a certain way?
And that's what happens with a lot of people. A lot of people are a part of their environment. They become a part of their environment.
Yeah.
And that's like any relationship a person may be in. You learn from the people that you're around. I noticed you said one time that in reference to what did you have as an example? So what was your example that you had that you can share with a lot of young ladies or even men out here that may have that same example?
I didn't have one.
Good.
That's the thing. I didn't have one growing up.
So what happens when a person don't have an example?
You make up what you want something really to be. So it's an expectation of what you think it should be based on a void that's there. And then from however they respond, you get used to the response, but then you try to adapt. I won't generalize it. I try to adapt to, okay, well, if they're not wanting to stay around, what do I need to do to make them stay around? And so it became performance-based for me rather than having a healthy self-esteem from a father figure in my life that was around.
Right.
My dad and I didn't have a true relationship until I was about 25 years old.
I see there's a lot of young, excuse me, my tongue is new to my mouth. A lot of young ladies have issues when it comes to not having a father figure around. How important is having a father figure around in a young lady's life?
It's their first introduction to a man, period. And how they receive love and how they should expect to be treated. And, if it's a healthy father-daughter relationship, then, that dad may date their daughter and take them out on dates to, a guy opens a door and this is how a man treats you and this is how a man takes care of you. This is how he loves you. So the dad becomes the benchmark.
Right. It's one of the things I talk with. I have a daughter, Trinity. And when she was younger, I'm thinking 7, 8, 9 years old, I used to take her out. I would take her out just to get her makeup done because I wanted to adjust my setting as far as she's going to grow into a beautiful woman. And I want to make sure I'm already clear how she's going to be beautiful.
Right.
I didn't want to be shocked.
Right.
I know it's really important that we give those examples as a father. But there's so many young sisters and even young brothers out here that don't have a father. What would you do in a case like that?
I would say to find an example.
Good answer. Yes.
To find a mentor. Someone that you can, someone that is willing to mentor, because not everybody can and will and wants to, because mentoring is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Right.
And someone that's willing to see you. And what I mean see you, not just, you're wearing, a black and silver dashiki. You're not, that's not what I mean.
Right.
I mean,
see me.
See into you.
What is going on with me?
Right.
What is inside me that's happening? What's making me float? What's making me tick?
And be willing to pull out what they see that you don't see in yourself.
Wow. That was something you talked about here as far as being a teammate. What is that about? What was that? Talk to the audience, let them know what is a teammate? What is an idea of a teammate in a marriage?
I talk about in my book that I had this broken record, this phrase of a broken record playing in my mind growing up, that a man takes care of a woman, a man takes care of a woman, a man takes care of a woman, except I didn't understand, but somewhere in my mind I knew, well, it can't all be on him, but that's what was playing in my mind. And what I mean by a teammate, the Bible talks about a woman being a helpmate.
Yes.
Okay.
Explain that.
So in Proverbs 31 is the story of a mom talking to her son, a king.
Would that be the virtuous woman?
Yes.
That's the virtuous woman.
Yeah, Proverbs 31 woman
Okay, got it.
starts off in verse. So this mother is describing in verse 10. It starts in verse 10.
Okay.
What a virtuous woman is.
Right.
But verses 1 through 9, she's saying, "Son, I love you, but let me tell you what the real deal is, and this is who you need to look for in a wife." So it's a mother talking to a son.
You know, I never really noticed that.
Absolutely.
I need to get that and check that out.
It is a mother talking to a son about the type of woman he needs to find.
Really?
And a Proverbs 31 woman is a businesswoman because
Yes, it is a businesswoman.
she's
going out to the market, bringing meats and bringing foods home to the family. Yes. Yeah.
yes, her hands don't idle. She takes care of the affairs of her home, but she also goes and buys a field. And her servants reap the harvest, and her husband is known in the city gates. So these are she's not a lazy woman. She's not someone who just sits around and expects the husband to take care of her.
Right.
As I was raised, a husband takes care of a wife. No, they take care of each other.
Now, a lot of that happens because a lot of old school people were taught that way. And we were taught by old school people, you know, and they did the best they can possibly teach us for the most part. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. I talk about also in my book, and I think this is an important point to raise. Depending on who raises you is what your marinade is. And the generation. Okay?
Yes.
So see, my grandmother, my mom and I lived with my grandmother. My grandmother was born in 1912. And that era is called the greatest generation. Those women had to work because the men were away
In
military service.
Yeah.
But my mother is of the silent generation. And that's when folks were coming back home, and that was the expectation: is a woman is supposed to stay home, take care of the home, raise the children, blah blah blah, right?
Right.
And then after that are the baby boomers.
Right. Which is me, you.
I'm not a baby boomer. I'm a Gen Xer.
So you trying to say I'm old school?
No, I am not saying that at all. I am not saying that at all. I'm a Gen Xer that was raised by a silent generation.
Oh, by mothers that was at home,
Right.
being quiet and being submissive. Am I fair to say that?
Yeah, that's fair. Except a Gen Xer was raised, we were latchkey kids.
Latchkey kids.
We were at home after school, but we had to be super responsible, or else you gonna get your behind beat if something was broke by the time a parent got home.
I think I was part that too.
So that is that Gen Xer mentality, and so now I'm raising me as a single mom, Gen Xer. I'm raising, millennial Gen Z.
Right. Yeah.
That's those are my two kids.
Right.
So I think it depends on who is raising you, what your marinade is. And, is it a two-parent home? Is it a one-parent home? Is it a dad a single dad? Is it a single mom? I think it all depends on who is raising you, how you respond or how you show up in a relationship. But teammate is I help you, you help me. We wear the same jersey. If you're weak one day, I got you.
Right.
If I'm weak one day, you got me.
Yeah. Right.
But you're always rehearsing plays.
Right.
If you think about football, they're always studying the plays.
Yes.
Right?
And they can always do a substitute
Right.
on the play.
Right. And you always, when you get out on the field, not every play goes according to textbook, so you have to improvise.
Exactly.
But you're always looking at the other teammate. You're always watching each other, and you're growing together.
Yes.
I think that is probably the most important thing is, as teammates, you can be, our kids were at football and cheerleading for a long time.
Yeah.
And so some of those boys had been playing together since the Pee Wee League, all the way through high school.
Yeah.
But they grew together, and growing together, it develops trust, it develops communication, it develops all kinds the strength of, if I'm not there, I know where this person is. They may be on my blind side, but they got my blind side. Right? And that's the same thing is what I mean by that's what a teammate is. And when I was married, I was not a teammate.
Well, speaking of that, let me ask you a question when it comes to the pain, all right? The pain. was there a time when you wrote this book? Did you talk to your ex about this book or anything? Does he know about this, or what did he say? I'm curious to know. Okay, where are you going with this, or how did he take this?
Before I released the book, so I had a focus group that of about 12 people that I had them read it before I released it, and because I wanted them to just pick it apart, give me feedback. What are typos? Anything? What did I miss? So I sent a text to Mark, letting him know about the book,
refresh yourself on the page.
All right, guys, we're back live. All right. We took a little commercial break, but we are back now. We had to take a little 5-minute commercial break, and we are live back together. Go ahead, Kelly, with the question you was handling.
So I did send Mark a text message letting him know about the book. But also in the text message, I explained that I had done a lot of reflection and inner healing. And I apologized for the pain that I caused him while we were married. I said,
Wow.
I told him, it's a 14-year late apology.
Wow.
But I hoped that somewhere he would find it to forgive me.
Wow. Wow.
And I did tell him about the book.
Yeah.
And sent him a copy of the ebook if he wanted to download it before I released it.
Right.
I haven't heard from him.
Wow, that's interesting. You would think this was a great book. You would think that he would call you and say, "Hey, great job."
It's okay.
That's okay. Just talked about pain. What is pain? What's the definition of pain to you?
That's a great question.
But you had a lot to talk about with pain. What is pain? Tell me, what is pain, Miss Kelly?
I think pain can come in a lot of different forms. We sometimes think of, pain as something topical, or, something internal that you need to go to the ER or the doctor for, right?
Right.
I think emotional pain, when we were coming up, that wasn't something that you went to therapy for. You just swallowed it.
Or went to church and just prayed about it.
That's all you did.
Yeah.
Because it was incredibly taboo to do therapy. You were, people that went to therapy had serious issues.
Especially in black communities.
Oh, absolutely.
In black communities, we kept everything with ourselves and the Lord.
Absolutely.
And our girlfriends and our boyfriends and our family and friends.
Or you didn't talk about it at all.
Talk about it at all.
Because what goes on in the house stays in this house, and you don't carry that outside. You don't take family business out. So you just don't do that.
Right. Don't air, what do they say? Don't air out dirty laundry.
Yeah.
That's true. We take it to the church and let it be gone.
But I would probably define pain. I guess if we were to talk about it in a mental or an emotional state. That's a really hard kind of question to define. I can only put it in my terms.
Put it in your terms. So let's hear your terms.
How it was for me that I guess it was for me it was just an empty place. It was a void that I should have had filled by nurturing parents. I think they were both hurting. And so it's very difficult to love from a hurt place, and you can't fake a healthy heart.
Wow, that's true.
You can't fake healthy. No matter if you're physically healthy or spiritually or emotionally healthy, it's difficult to fake if you're healthy and you're really sick.
Right.
If you're really emotionally hurting, it shows up. It leaks out.
Yeah.
It leaks out in conversations. It leaks out at work. You can tell someone is going through something if they respond to you differently at work.
Aggressive, like, ah! You and your wife had an argument at work, huh? At home, huh? Yeah. Come on, man, they talk about it.
It leaks out.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
If you're just having a bad day, And, my son will come home and he'll say, "Hey, Mom, you okay?"
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It leaks out. It shows on you, even though it's inside. And so for me, the pain was void that was longing to be filled. And so I tried to substitute it with things, as a young girl. And then as I got older, you throw up masks.
Right. You talked about also in the book as far as marriage, how you had this idea of marriage, but you wasn't really in love. Is that right to say? Or explain that to me, because when I read that, I was like, oh my goodness. So you get married, but you wasn't really in love, but in love with the idea of getting married.
I had a plan.
Oh, tell me about the plan. What is?
No, my plan was to be married by 23 to 25 years old.
Is that something common with ladies?
I think so.
Where does that come from?
I don't know that it's so much so anymore.
Right.
But there are some people that just have a plan for their lives, and they're pretty rigid about making sure that the plan, we stay on track with the plan, right?
Right.
So my plan was to be married by 23 to 25 years old. It was to get pregnant with my first kiddo, between 25 and 27.
Right.
I wanted to have 3, so however they bounced out after that. But, I wanted to be done by 30. And I didn't want to keep having babies in my 30s.
Right.
So that was my plan. And I think I was in love with the plan. I was in love with, the day, because one of the things that my girlfriends did when I was, middle school and high school, is we would go to the store and we would buy bridal books.
Oh my gosh, I know. I have some cousins that do that.
Yeah, we would go buy bridal books, and we would buy we would buy a photo album, right? And we would cut out pictures of rings and flowers and bridesmaids and the dress,
Right.
And and we would lay the whole book out.
And while you ladies was doing that, the boys were collecting baseball cards.
Right.
And football cards and
Right.
Reading.
That was
we were reading muscle magazines and things like that. We
Right.
had no idea of any type of marriage in our mind.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So that's how I fell in love with the idea of being married, the idea of, a husband, but not knowing how to care for his vulnerabilities.
Wow, that's deep. I think that's common in a lot of people in both areas, both ways.
It's both ways.
Both ways.
We're not prepared to shoulder to create. We're not prepared to create a safe space for the vulnerabilities.
The safe space.
We're not, we don't always like to show our underbelly, these are my scars, these are my hurts. This is what concerns me. This is how I really feel. And so instead, I flash up my anger. Instead, something comes out of my mouth that I shouldn't have said, and it wounds you.
So why do you think people hide their safe space?
Because it's really, I can only say, I think it's really when we show who we really are, it opens ourselves up to being rejected or wounded or hurt all over again.
Yes, I understand that.
Versus coming from a healed place to say, there's a scripture, it's one of my favorite scriptures. It's 2 Corinthians, I don't remember the rest of it, but it says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly in my weakness so that Christ's power can rest on me."
Powerful.
And so when I began to say, yeah, I'm not the greatest speller.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not great at that.
Yeah.
I'm a great cleaner.
Yeah.
But my cooking skills, I don't know about that.
Right.
That doesn't mean I can't assemble something, but to ask me to make something from scratch, not so much.
Not gonna happen, huh?
Not so much. But then I also say, I'm not the greatest at thinking on my feet in a situation where I know exactly what to say every time.
Right. I'm victim to that. I'm not the greatest of thinking on my feet sometimes.
Right.
Because I'll be like, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
Why didn't I do that?
And then I go a little deeper and say, you know what? I'm not the greatest at always touching and hugging and loving.
Yes.
I'm not the greatest at always knowing what to do with your vulnerabilities, except I can listen,
Right.
except I will cry with you, except I can pray with you, because I'm still learning what to do. Even for me, I'm still learning what to do with some of the trauma I've experienced. I'm not the greatest at speaking up for myself.
Right.
And so sometimes I just avoid a situation altogether.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. Yeah.
So it's vulnerable to reveal our weaknesses because, let's just be honest, people take advantage of our weaknesses.
That's true. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people may shut down and not show their vulnerability.
Right.
Because of people who walk over you and take
Right.
your weakness and use it against you.
Right. So instead, we create a facade. We create something, someone that we're really not.
Right,
We
right.
create, we throw up as some people say, we throw up our representative.
Wow, that's good.
We throw up our representative instead of just being who we are, and go ahead.
Okay, so what's the plans for Miss Kelly Smith in the future? What you got planned? What's coming up? Can we be expecting down the road?
In June will be the audiobook for Love Letters from an Ex-Wife.
Guys, get that.
In June is the audiobook. And I have already started, kind of completed. And when I say completed, it's very loose. My second book called Love Letters from an Ex-Girlfriend.
Love Letters from an Ex-Girlfriend. Guys, it's going to be banging. Make sure you get that.
Yeah, this one is confronting abuse that almost destroyed me. So after Mark, instead of taking time to heal, instead of taking time to, dig deep and discover those things in me, I jumped into another relationship.
Why? Why does that happen? What happened? What made you jump right into another relationship? Was it loneliness? Did you want to, tell me what?
I wanted to be rescued.
Oh, good.
I wanted to be rescued. Wanted to be taken care of because that's what men do, right?
Yeah. You talked about that.
That's what men, that was my virus playing in the background on my software, making me malfunction.
You wrote that. Mm-hmm. That sounds good. Virus playing in the background.
Running in my background.
Running in my background. That was profound. That was nice.
Thank you.
I'm using that. Can I use that one?
Yes, you can use
I'm
it.
taking that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm taking that one.
But yeah, that I just because I didn't have a good income or a job to step into that I felt like I could support the kids, and so I jumped into a relationship that I shouldn't have, and it did cross over. Let me just say it like that. It did cross over where it was something that I shouldn't have done, but I was angry. And, I felt like if Mark could do it, then I could do it too. And so I was angry. It was spiteful.
I got you.
But I did not take time to heal. And I didn't take time to recover. I didn't take time to get my legs under me. And it was not the best situation that I should have done, but I felt like at the time that's what I needed to do to survive.
Right. Is that one of them things that misery likes company? Or something different?
I felt like I could trust him because I thought I was going from not so great to better.
Yeah.
But I ended up going from a not so great relationship because Mark and I weren't healthy for a while, and I didn't know it until later on in the marriage. So I went from, not so great to worse.
Is that one of those things where people say the grass is not always greener on the other side?
Oh yeah.
That's one of those type of things. Let me ask you a question. What do you want people to learn from your book? Because I learned a lot from your book. So what do you want people to take from reading your book?
To really do your own healing. We're a lot of people walking around unhealed.
Wow.
And hurting other people. And not just, I don't just mean, someone you meet,
Right.
but I mean even your own family. One of the things that has been I wear it like a banner, is to break generational cycles in my own family.
Explain that to people.
I want my children to make better decisions than I did. And so very often, and sometimes they kind of chuckle or they roll their eyes, but very often, if they were sitting here, they'd go, "Yeah, Mom, yeah, you do."
Yeah, I've heard that before, right?
I will come to them and I'll say, "Guys, we need a family meeting." And they go, "Okay." And I'll say, "I need to apologize to you for something." Or I'll say, "I need to tell you about something that I want you to know is either in our family history or a mistake that I made." I believe it is our responsibility, because if you think about a road, like if you were to consider a road, and, I don't hide how old I am. I'm 47. And
Beautiful.
Thank you. I am 47 miles down the road.
That's a good way to look at it.
Okay. My children are only 20 and 22 miles down the road. I know the potholes.
Oh, wow.
I know where the lines are. I know where the nails are in the road, because you're following after me. You're following after our family history. And I'm old enough now where I can see my mom, who is in her 70s, further down the road than I am. But because I've been on this road a while and I'm not a new driver,
Right.
I can see down the road further. I just don't look at what's in front of me when I'm driving. I can see further down the road.
Right.
And so I can see the other potholes that maybe my mom didn't know to turn around and tell me, but I know now to turn around and tell my children.
Wow.
And I want them to make better decisions. I want them to be aware, even if they don't make the decision right now, I want them to know that they have the power to make the decision, even if it's not what they want to do right now.
Wow.
That is if that is anything that I could say to anyone, is to take your own journey. Yes, it hurts, because what you're doing is you're confronting the hurt and the pain that you feel all over again, except the person isn't in front of you.
Right.
And forgiveness doesn't require you always having to go to somebody, because forgiveness is for me. And forgiveness I have to seek inside of me with my Father, my Heavenly Father.
Right.
Because the healing, where the pain and the emotional trauma or anything else may have been done to me, and that's not my fault. It is my responsibility to heal.
Right.
Because the pain perpetuates. It keeps growing, and sometimes it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Do you ever want to get married again?
I do.
The lucky guy comes around and finds you?
I do.
Okay, guys. Hey, all you single guys out there making six figures, making good money, listen, we're looking for a 6-figure, 6-foot, dark, tall, and handsome, own business, godly man.
Thank you.
I got you, sister.
Thank you.
Godly man. She's available, but you got to go through my talk first. We got to have a sit down talk first, because we ain't giving no trash out coming from me. Listen, guys, I'm excited about everything. You've done a wonderful job, and we want to take this to the next level. I'm excited. Listen, guys, make sure you go out there and purchase this book, Love Letters from an Ex-Wife. We have my girl, Kelly Smith, here. She did a fantastic job. I'm so excited. Go to... Where do you go? You tell people how to get your book.
The book is on Amazon.com, Love Letters from an Ex-Wife. It's available in ebook and paperback. You can go to my website at kellyonpurpose.com. This is still new. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Love Letters on Purpose.
Okay, there you go, guys. Listen, I'm excited about everything. I'm your main man, Mr. Uptown One Love. Stay tuned for more podcasts coming up, and we see you at the top. Deuces, baby.
Refresh yourself.